Good afternoon, my friends. I don't know about you, but I can hardly sit still. I have a guest with me today on Cathy Chat that I'm so excited. I really mean it. This is one of those strap yourselves in and get ready because this is going to be such an impactful call. I'm Cathy Weaver, and I am thrilled to have you with us today on Cathy Chat. My guest is the one, the only TerryAnn Porter, life coach TA. TerryAnn, thank you for saying yes.
Oh, I am so excited and honored to be here, Kathy. This is a thrill. Frightening, but a thrill.
No. And I got a present in the mail the other day, and I'm so excited because I got to be on your show. I appreciate that piece with all my heart. And then when I got a present in the mail, also, it was like, oh my gosh. So not only did you allow me to be on your show so we could talk about my grief journey book, but I get a present on top of it.
And a present on top of it.
That was a blast. And all of a sudden I thought, what did I order? Because of course I can't remember. And when I got this, it was a very special gift. So thank you very much. It's a treasure.
Oh, you're quite welcome. It was such an honor to have you and to chat with you.
And on Cathy Chat, we always, shall we say, spotlight our guests. And the reason for that is it's so hard for me, and I'm sure for many of us, to talk about ourselves. I'm this, I'm amazing, I'm fabulous. Oh my gosh. But when we get a chance to actually interact with superstars around our community in Kansas City and certainly globally, now that we have everything virtual in our world, I love being able to have guests who have made an impact on my life so they can share the impact with others. I am thrilled to have you here. I would like to start first with, how did Tea Time come to be?
Tea time came to be. I work with a group of, well, work with. I visit with a group of ladies. We call ourselves the tea ladies. We get together and we have our little tea time chats. And I just got to liking tea. I like coffee. I like my coffee, but really been liking tea better. And I like tea because you grab a cup of coffee. When you talk about tea, you talk about sitting. You talk about sitting. You're going to sip your coffee, and it allows for more relaxing moments. So I thought, what a great segue and reminder to just, take a few moments and slow down. Sip your tea. Enjoy it for a little bit. Then go back to the hectic pace.
I love that. Take a breath, take a sip. And
Absolutely.
it's very impactful. I mean that with all my heart. A little bird told me, and I've got a lot of little birds
You've got a
flying.
lot of little birds.
I got a lot of little birds flying around, but you have been getting award after award after award in Toastmaster. And Toastmaster International has been around a very long time. And I know that that is a huge part of your journey. Tell us about not only your awards, but what Toastmaster has done for you.
I stepped into Toastmasters about 6.5 years ago. And I'd heard of it before, but the reason I went looking for a place was on Facebook one day. I saw a post come across from a former pastor and teacher that I had that I greatly admire. And he said, I'm so happy to be in town. I get to go to my Toastmasters meeting. And I immediately messaged him. I said, Toastmasters, wait a minute. You speak all over the world. Why Toastmasters? He says, because I'm always learning. I said, okay, this is it. I've never had a problem public speaking, but what Toastmasters has taught me is how to write a speech, how
How
to speak better. I would try my first few speeches. If they were recorded, you all would laugh. I would try to give 45 minutes worth of information in a 5-minute segment, which means I never took a breath. And my audience left totally exhausted and went, what was she talking about? So it's helped me to hone my skills. I already had the skills, but now Toastmasters showed me how to hone them, how to develop them, and use them in an appropriate manner in an appropriate situation.
Isn't it amazing how uncomfortable people are with silence,
Absolutely.
pausing? I actually did a YouTube video, and I know this is just, oh my gosh, I did a YouTube video, 12 minutes of silence. That's all.
Oh my.
I zoomed it and I moved occasionally or blinked so they could tell something wasn't wrong with their screen or mine. But I wanted to see and show 12 minutes of silence. Can you do it? And of course, the people who know me are going, there's no way she's going to live 12 minutes without talking. But the rest of the story is, I can't believe that people are so uncomfortable with silence. And I think Toastmasters teaches us how to pause,
Mm-hmm.
how to breathe, and how to present, just like you said, without leaving your audience exhausted. I love what you learn in the Toastmaster organization.
It has really been a blessing. I would encourage anyone, but it's not just public speaking. How about those impromptu moments? Boss comes in and says, "Hey, how are things going?" Ooh, the boss is talking to me. What do I say? Those little moments on the elevator, just one of the things is the opportunity to learn to just impromptu speak without sounding like an idiot.
That's a great message right off the bat. And instantly you think, as soon as you get on an elevator, I know people who literally the elevator door opens. If someone it goes in with them, they stay back.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for safety. I know that that's a safety thing, but not just for safety. And if they go to an elevator and it's crowded, they'll get on because nobody will speak then. But when it's just two of you, apparently it's even more awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And I have people that stay back because they don't want to ride with someone. And it's not the safety thing, it's the chat. So Toastmasters teaches you how to talk on the elevator?
Yes, we have three parts to it. We have prepared speaking. That's where we prepare a speech when we come in. We have an impromptu speaking. Just a question is asked. You have 1 to 2 minutes to answer. So over time, the first few times in anything that you do, the first few times it's not going to be easy. And they're probably not going to be good. But over time, you start to learn how to do that. And the third part we have is evaluations. We get feedback on our speeches, which helps us to grow. Okay, Cathy, what did you get out of that? And you have 3 to 4 minutes to explain, okay, I was listening to your speech, and I'll tell you what I really, really liked. And, something I would like to challenge you on next time. So it's a positive environment where you can learn to grow. And you know what? No one's ever been failed from Toastmasters because of a bad speech.
That is good to know.
What better place to learn?
Yeah, that is good to know. I love that right off the bat. I'm looking at your gorgeous face and your gorgeous office, but I think something's missing.
What is missing? Oh, is my crown missing?
I don't think I recognize you without that fantastic tiara.
There we go. Crown. Yes, I do have my crown.
Now I recognize you. Okay, all better. Now I can see, and it really is TerryAnn Porter. Okay, I love that. Now think about that little bird again, and I know that you are an author. And I definitely want to talk about your books. I actually have the privilege of owning one of them. I don't know if it's first or second, but the Proverbs 31 Woman, I feel, is a very impactful publication. How did your books come to be? Where did that piece step on your journey?
The book started something I really never thought I would ever do. But the book started during an extremely physically painful time in my life. And I could barely walk. I spent a lot of time in bed just crying over the pain. And I started doing two things that I hadn't done in a while. One was journaling. And the other one was I had picked up some yarn and some needles and I started to knit. Well, one day I picked up a ball of yarn and it was have you ever seen a tangled ball of yarn? Have you ever tried to untangle a tangled ball of yarn? It is not easy. And I'm sitting there and pulling at it and I'm crying. I'm going, God, this is what my life looks like right now. I am one total tangled ball of yarn. And so I'm working to get it undone. And I use that in my journaling. Well, over a period of time, treatments and all, it got better. And I got to looking back at my journal notes and I thought, these almost have a theme to them. So I took my little notes and I edited them and I went to the ladies' ministry at my church and I said, can I try something? And we started a knit and crochet Bible study at church. And that was where the first one, Stitched in Christ, came from. So my husband says, so put it on the internet. So I started posting little things on the internet, and I was getting comments back, well, this is great, because I use knitting terms. What about us crocheters? Well, I do both. So to me, one, the other, they kind of intermingle. So I went back through my notes, and I edited the words, and Reed said, and why is this not for sale on the internet? That husband of mine, I tell you, he really pushes me some days. So we set up a website and we sold this in group form, the words for a group, and allowed each church that bought it, print out all the pages you want, share it with your group. So that he says, well, why isn't it on Amazon?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I told you he's pushy. So I edited it and came up with this, and I put this on Amazon. Well, now this was all done. We were done in our group. Well, what was next? And I was doing a private study on the Proverbs 31 woman. I didn't like this woman. I did not want to study her. I did not like her. She's perfect. And that was kind of along the lines of when my husband bought me my crown. I said, some days I'm so frustrated. I need to be reminded whose I am. I'm important. I'm special. I'm a princess. I'm a child of God. I need a tiara. And he came back with this. Now, at first I thought, this isn't quite what I had in mind. But as soon as I put it on, I smiled. I mean, you can't look at this woman in her mid-60s in a plastic crown with a pink fur across, and by the way, it also has flashing lights. I just didn't turn them on.
Oh, you're special. Yeah, you're very special.
How can I do that and not smile? But the thing is, once you smile, now you can start to look at things a little different. So I use it all the time for that. So I got to looking at the Proverbs 31 woman. And I started thinking of women that I think of as a Proverbs 31 woman. You, lady, are one of them. You, my friend. I look at you, everything is so right, is so perfect. I'll never be this woman. Well, then I stopped and I did a real in-depth study. And I realized this woman was not born this way. She grew into this. And she became this woman through the tragedies in her life, through the experiences in her life, job losses, family losses, broken heart, financial woes back and forth. And no matter what I see today, it's because of what she has lived through. So I started talking to the women that I looked up to as the Proverbs 31 woman. You're so perfect. And you know what? They had a life. They went through a lot, but I don't see that now because they're already on the other side of it. So I call it Proverbs 31 Woman, God's Work in Progress.
Wow.
Because as long as we are working on our knit or crochet project, we're on the hook here. And God is still knitting or crocheting, take your pick, whichever term you want to use. But he's still working on those stitches. And as long as he's still working on those stitches, we're still a work in progress. He's not done with us yet. And that totally changed my attitude about the whole thing. And then that is where this came from then.
Mike, and do you offer that to churches as well?
I did for a long time. I offered both of them as group studies. But in 2020, with the COVID and everything shut down and nobody working in groups anymore, really started promoting them as the individual studies. And so what I've heard from now is the churches are just getting the books as an individual study and having the people just, get your own book. Because then it's written more personal, because instead of the word terms we, I'm using I.
There we go.
And it makes a difference. And at the end of each book, I've even got a pattern. Well, I have two patterns. One for knitters, one for crocheters. I don't want to leave anybody out. And I call it the Colors of Salvation Afghan. So while you're working on it, you're working on all, those little bracelets we made as kids with the Colors of Salvation beads. Well, each stitch Each panel is a different color, is a whole different stitch pattern. So you've got even a little short little study along with it. And then it's all covered. It's each panel divided by black. We're all separated by sin. But the entire thing, every single color is covered in red, God's blood, Jesus' blood. And so I do have a knit and a crochet version of it in there. And I just got an email from someone who said, I played with your pattern. I made it into a jumper. Is that okay? I said, you better believe it is. I want a picture when you're done. So she was making a picture using the idea of the colors of salvation.
Wow. Now, the word that came to mind one of the words is impact. And I am always floored by the impact we have on other people, especially when we have no idea what that's going to look like. You are knitting and crocheting those incredible Afghans. Salvation comes to mind. The strategic placement of every single color comes to mind. And the impact we have on other people just by offering what he has prompted us to do. And here you are. I'm floored by your success journey and the impact that you've had on so many people across the world, my friend.
Oh, thank you. And the one thing I do want to point out, these are not super deep, in depth, dig down deep. They're kind of like my crown. They're an entry in so that anybody can enjoy it. And even if you don't knit or crochet, which you don't, but I think you also saw you could in your own mind whatever kind of hobby you have, you can just unconsciously insert those words and come along with the same story. And that's what I like about it. Don't knit crochet? Okay, so what? Take the terms of what you're doing. They'll fit. Because the idea is just to remind you, just to think about it and the working process.
To be able to incorporate scripture into everything we do is an art form in itself. Mm-hmm. And when you offer the Proverbs 31 woman, the knit and crochet pieces to that, our everyday lives can be impacted on a personal level by scripture. And that's the piece I take from your books. And I am so excited about that particular part. Now, without getting too severely in-depth personal, except we're a little bit past that now, you're on the sofa, unable to move and dejected and saddened and what's going on, Lord. How did you get off the sofa?
A lot of prayer. There was a lot of medical treatments. There was a surgery. There was medications. There was, physical therapies. There was a lot.
Did you feel him along your journey for that recovery piece?
Absolutely. In fact, there was one day, and I don't tell this story often because I've told it once or twice and people go, yeah, right. There was one day, absolutely the worst. Rita had to help me into bed. I couldn't even get into the bed. So I'm laying there, got to a semi-comfortable position, but my back is against the bedroom door. And I felt a presence. Well, only Reed and me live in the house, okay? I figured it's my husband, right? And I could almost feel, like a hand on me saying it's okay. And I look around and there's no hand there. And Jesus sitting right beside me, crying right along with me. I'm sorry, but this is part of the process. I knew at that moment that I was not alone, and that moment has never left me.
This is part of the process. Those are not easy words to hear.
No.
Not easy words to implement or accept. This is part of the process. If we don't go through step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can't get to 6.
That's right.
And I know that people are urgently wanting to get to the finish line. And that's why I always say we can't start at the finish line. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work that way, yes.
And just like the people that are public successful sports figures, they didn't just get picked on the team and now you learn how to play whatever it is. It was work and hard work. And a lot of times people don't see the behind the scenes pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about your transparency, because those of us at the top of the mountain did not fall here.
Absolutely. You hear those people an overnight success.
Yes,
Yeah, an overnight success. It just took 15 years.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the piece for me that I am so blessed times a million to have you on Cathy Chat today. The pieces of your journey I know will be impactful to those who are able to listen to this on Spotify as a podcast, and certainly as a vodcast on YouTube and all the different social media platforms that we have. I'd love for people to know, first of all, how to reach you, how to get your books, and then how to connect with you for future chats and consultations within your life coach TA business.
Well, I have several websites, but the easiest one is TerryAnnPorter.com.
Okay.
From there, it then can launch into either one. As you can see, you've got it going across the bottom down there.
Yes.
You see that down there? Knit and Crochet Bible Study. I got to tell you, that whole site totally crashed, blew up, everything else. So I'm trying to get it all rebuilt and back to the way it was.
I love technology
out of there, but I tell you, technology is great while it works. But TerryAnnPorter.com, knitandcrochetbiblestudy.com, and the lifecoachta.com, they've all got a contact me spot. You send it to me, I will get that email. And if it's a legitimate email, I will respond.
Absolutely. And I noticed that your books are on Amazon as well. This is amazing.
Yes, the books are on Amazon in print. They've just done a price increase, so I think they're $9.99 right now, but they're also on Kindle. If you're a Kindle reader, 99 cents.
Oh, you can't do better than that.
You can't do better than that. And if I set it up right, if you buy the hard copy, you should get the Kindle version free.
Oh my gosh. Once again, talk about an impact. And I would love to know, before we say farewell today, Cathy Chat always goes by so quickly. What would you like to leave our listeners with, perhaps one of the largest impacts that you have received from being a complete and total faith-filled follower of Jesus?
I think the hardest lesson I've had to learn in following Jesus is my time level is not his time frame.
Ugh.
But you know what? When I follow his time frame, when I follow his path, I get right where I'm supposed to be every time. I've never ended up the wrong place by following his path.
In his perfect timing. Wow, that is a lesson times a million. And many of us, I don't know if I'm talking to me, many of us definitely are aware in his perfect time, not ours. That is beautiful.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, I say my prayer is, God, you hold my hand. Not me hold his hand, him hold my hand. Because if I hold his hand, think of when you're holding that little toddler, yeah, Mom, let me hold your hand. They do the holding. That means they can let go. I don't want to hold his hand. I want him to hold my hand and hold it so tight that I can't get away.
Never let us go. That's a beautiful message. Oh my goodness. As I mentioned, my friends, TerryAnn Porter being on Cathy Chat today is an honor for me times a million. And I know that you too have been blessed by this broadcast. And I appreciate so much your support of Cathy Chat, our YouTube channels, all over social media. You'll be able to find TerryAnn Porter, Life Coach TA. And when you do a Google search and you find this Toastmasters International Professional, you too will be blessed by her message. So thank you for joining me today, TerryAnn. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. It has been an honor and a blessing.
Excellent. And thank you again, my friends. We will see you next time on Cathy Chat. Bye for now.
Bye.